I never believed in monsters, but the events of last week made me question those beliefs to a great extent. The job seemed pretty simple at first. Some people saw a strange creature in the woods and the mayor of their little no-name town was willing to pay me for taking it down. He offered me $5,000 for shooting what was probably just a mangy bear. I'd be a fool for turning him down. Besides, he even paid me half of it in advance and offered me to lend me the keys to a private bungalow near the forest to make my stay more comfortable. It took some time for the keys to arrive, postal services be damned, but after about a week it was time for me to head out. I packed my rifle, ammunition, and some clothes, and got in my truck. This would be the job of a lifetime. When I arrived at the town, there were no signs of life. I chalked it up to it being 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, but even so, you'd expect at least a few lights to be on, right? Nevertheless, I continued driving until I reached my quote-unquote home for the coming few days. The bungalow was small. It looked more like a cabin. Then again, I wasn't here for a vacation anyways. I was here to work. As I tried unlocking the front door, I noticed it was already open. Strange, I thought to myself, but nothing unusual. It's not like you'd have to worry about people breaking into your house in a small town in bumfuck nowhere. Once inside, I threw my bag on the floor and plopped down onto a chair. It was a long drive, and I was tired. After grabbing a beer from my bag, I began to mentally prepare for the days to come. Tomorrow, I would visit the mayor and ask for any leads of their quote-unquote creatures' whereabouts, after which I would spend the remainder of the day scouring the forest for any tracks. If I hunt, and I'm not successful by then, I would simply try again the day after. Easy job, easy plan, and easy money. I finished my beer and decided to go to bed. That night, I was awoken by my stomach's inability to digest alcohol. I rushed to the bathroom while vomit started to work its way up my throat. Sadly, I was too late, and now the bathroom door was covered in a beer and the half-digested sandwiches I had the day before. I cussed for a while, thinking about how stupid this whole situation was. Sure, my body had not been the same since the accident, but I never had trouble drinking before. After sitting there for a while, I went searching for something to clean up my work of art. A thorough inspection of the bungalow led me to a closet, where I finally found a mop and went to town on my stomach's content. I was humming a little song to help lighten up my mood, but when I heard someone humming back to me from outside, my whole demeanor changed. I quit cleaning immediately and snuck over to my backpack. As soon as I did that, the humming stopped and was replaced by a man's voice. "Sorry, didn't want to startle you there, buddy," the mysterious man said, with no discernible emotion in his voice. I sat in silence, loading my rifle while I listened to the man outside. Sure, it was no bear, but random people hanging around your place in the middle of the night rarely spell good news. I waited for him to start speaking again, but he did not resume talking, no matter how long I sat there in silence. An hour had passed and still he had not said a word. I figured it was probably just a local drunk that found his way to the cabin, heard me hummed along like a merry drunk guy would, and then left because why not? Drunk guys do what drunk guys do. After coming up with this rational explanation, I went to sleep again, thinking about how weird that whole situation had been. When I woke up in the morning, my stomach pain was gone. I got out of bed, packed my stuff, and headed to my truck. I noticed the scratches on the truck almost immediately. I remember thinking that it must have been that drunk guy from the night before, and that I would make him pay for this if I ever saw him again. Angrily, I got in the car and drove over to the town hall. On my way there, I once again noticed the lack of people in the street. The road being empty on a Tuesday night made perfect sense, but not even one person having to drive to work on a Wednesday morning? That's suspicious, and it should have been one of the many things that should have made me reconsider the job. My car needed a new paint job though, and even then, I've always been a stubborn bastard. As I drove, I thought I saw someone move behind a building in my rearview mirror, but I didn't get a clear view of the person. I felt happy to see that there actually were people in this town, so I continued my drive. When I got to the town hall, the first thing I noticed was the broken window. That drunk guy must have vandalized more than just my truck, I thought at the moment. I got out of my car and walked up to the front door, which was open, and entered the building. Upon walking into the entrance hall, I was met by a rotten smell. My vomit would have been all over the floor if it hadn't been for my little adventure yesterday. That's how bad it was. It smelled like a mixture of dead animals, fermenting plants, and rotting milk. I considered turning around and leaving right then and there, but I decided to at least try to talk to the mayor to find out what was going on. Curiosity killed the cat, I thought, but I was no cat. Stupid as I was, I didn't bother going back to the car to get my rifle. What was the worst thing that could happen? Against better judgment, I went to search for the mayor. When I found him, his body was lying on the floor, completely dead. He was missing an arm and his face. His torso had been ripped to shreds. His office had been completely ruined too, with random office supplies and some antique vases lying scattered on the floor, along with a picture of the mayor and his wife. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I heard a familiar voice coming from the hallway. The drunk guy from last night. "Hey, I know you were in here somewhere, dude," he said, his voice still as monotone as before. His footsteps were heavy, growing louder with every step as he got closer and closer. Along with his footsteps, the sound of something being dragged across the floor could be heard. I even heard his breathing, heavy and labored, as he neared the mayor's office. Suddenly, all of the sounds stopped. I knew he was right outside the door, waiting for me to make a move. I just sat there, regretting my choice of not taking my rifle with me. Then I realized something. I realized that I'm a 6'3" man who weighs 250 pounds and also used to be a boxer in his younger years. I got up with my fists ready to throw some punches and decided to make this man regret screwing with my car. I could hear the man scratching at the wall as I neared the door. "Found you," he yelled, his voice sounding more guttural than before. I felt a sharp pain in my shoulder as my aggressor knocked me to the floor, followed by the warm sensation of blood flowing out of my wound. I remember thinking that the bastard had stabbed me. The man jumped at me before I was able to regain my balance, forcing me to roll to the side to avoid him. That's when I noticed that this man wasn't a person at all. At the moment, all I could see was something vaguely bipedal, hunched over a bit and covered in long black fur. What I thought had been a knife were actually a set of long claws on each hand. The creature began to turn towards me, and as I took this as my sign to move, I picked up a vase that was lying next to me and threw it at the monster, hitting it straight in the head. Then I got up in an instant and booked it. As I was running, I could hear the creature following me closely behind. Its roars became more and more animalistic with each passing second, clearly enraged from my attempt to fight back. I practically jumped down the stairs, nearly breaking my legs in the process, after which I continued my sprint towards the door. Without thinking twice, I just busted through the surprisingly weak door. Once outside, I noticed more creatures coming at me in the corner of my eyes. Filled with adrenaline, I ran to my truck, got inside, and started the engine. That's when the creature from earlier came falling down in the parking space right next to me. The bastard had jumped through the first floor's window. When it got up, I finally got a good look at the thing. The thing that I heard it drag across the floor was its tail, and the thing that stabbed me and scratched my car were the massive claws on its hands. Yet the thing got me the most. The thing that will forever haunt my dreams was its face. Or, to put it in better words, the contorted face of a man plastered over its head. It was the same face I saw in the mayor's picture. I stepped on the gas and floored it. While driving, I noticed more and more creatures started to give chase, each one wearing a different face. I drove as fast as I could until they were all out of sight and I had left the town. Even then, I did not drop my speed, probably committing multiple traffic violations as I drove. But I didn't care. The stuff I saw there was way above my pay grade, and I wanted to get as far away from it as possible. I drove for hours, only stopping to tank my car. This incident happened a few days ago. Currently, I'm still in the hospital waiting for the wound in my shoulder to heal. The doctors say I'm lucky I can still move my arm. Sure, I'm happy to be alive, but life isn't all sunshine and rainbows for me. I've racked up more debt than the $2,500 can pay, as if that wasn't enough. Men in black suits have been interviewing me ever since I got here. So if you're reading this, please just remember one thing. If some guy offers you $5,000 just to shoot a bear, stay away, because there's no way in hell those things were bears.